The hype is building for Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and I gotta say, guys, that I'm excited about this entry. Look, this is one of my favorite franchises out there, and I, of course, am very intrigued and excited when a new Assassin's Creed game gets announced, and then, we get to try it out, and I'm hoping that this game, even though it looks gorgeous as far as the graphics and such, it looks great as far as from a graphical standpoint. It looks like a little more of the same. That's kind of continuing what they were starting with Origins and Odyssey, which I hope I'm wrong because I didn't really find those two games really great when it came to the Assassin's Creed franchise. But nonetheless, guys, what I want to get into is the top 5 things that we want in Assassin's Creed Valhalla. And when I say we, guys, I'm going to be talking mainly myself here. I know some of you are going to share the same opinions, but if you don't, let me know in the comment section down below as to what you guys want to see in Assassin's Creed Valhalla. And like I said, before really getting into this, that I'm a massive fan of Assassin's Creed. I've been overly critical, though, of the last couple of installments in this game. I felt like it's kind of gone away from the formula. It's kind of changed in a number of ways, in my personal opinion. And we'll kind of get into where I think they need to kind of change that with Valhalla. And I don't know if they're going to, guys. It's hard to say at this point. All we really got was, of course, that announcement trailer. But nonetheless, let's get right into this thing. So at number 1, guys, as far as the things that I want in Assassin's Creed Valhalla is I want Ubisoft, and I want this game in particular to go back to the roots of Assassin's Creed. And what I mean by that, guys, and I've said this basically at nauseum at this point on the YouTube channel. If you guys have watched my other Assassin's Creed videos on here, you know that as of late, they've kind of gone away from the formula. Reminds me somewhat of what happened in Call of Duty. And once again, it feels like this, something similar here with Assassin's Creed. And what I'm getting at here, guys, is that they have chosen action over stealth. And stealth is what really made this series what it is. I mean, it's really was created this entire franchise based around stealth that had action elements, but then it changed to being an action RPG that had very minimal stealth elements to it. So I think what they need to do is go back to what made this series so great in the first place. That being stealth-oriented, assassin-like gameplay that, of course, has, the assassins, man, the order, the guys with the hoods and using stealth, jumping into straw and just, bales of straw and things of that nature, guys, that blending into, crowds and being able to climb extremely quickly up buildings and such. Those are the things that they need to bring back. Now, obviously, guys, in the Viking era, I'm not sure exactly what that would look like, but what I'm getting at here is having more stealth elements than the all-out action like they've had in Odyssey and Origins. And so, even if they kind of prefer the action, at least have some stealth elements. And then I would say, as long as you're in this story arc, which we'll get here to in a sec, as long as the story arc kind of leads us back to where, back to the Assassin's Creed, because it just felt like it's kind of gone away from all of that. So that's number 1, guys, is go back to the roots of Assassin's Creed. Go back to that stealth-based, gameplay. Go back to, just the Creed. Go back to the Creed as a whole. It feels like they've kind of just gone away from that. So that's number 1. Number 2, guys, is to tie, as far as the story of Valhalla, I want this to tie into the overarching story of Assassin's Creed. Now, whether that means going back to Assassin's Creed Black Flag, or if they're kind of leading us to Assassin's Creed 5, potentially, I just want them to tie this story into the rest of the Assassin's Creed games. And what I mean by the other Assassin's Creed games, I mean the older games. I want them to really tie this whole thing together somewhat, because it just has felt that over the years, we've been getting so many Assassin's Creed titles that a lot of times it's starting to get convoluted, the story and such. It's starting to, the direction of it, it feels like it has an identity crisis at times. And so I feel like they need to kind of get back to tying this story into the overarching story so that we understand where they're trying to go. Even if there's some mystery, which I'm totally fine with. I love mystery in games, guys, and in movies, but when it comes to Assassin's Creed, you have to bring it kind of full circle here. Make make us understand a little bit the direction they're trying to go in, and maybe lead us into the future here with like Assassin's Creed 5 or whatever the next installment may be. Then, guys, coming in at number 3, I have said for a long time, guys, on the YouTube channel that it's incredibly important to have more ways than one to connect with the franchise, and Assassin's Creed is no different. After you're done playing the single-player story, what is it that you do with Assassin's Creed? Do you typically go and play it over again, and then you go ahead and you go for all the side missions, side quests, whatever the case might be, and then, beat the story on a harder difficulty, and then you kind of move on to a different game? What is it that you do after you're done playing Assassin's Creed? What I think is Ubisoft, this being one of their flagship titles, pretty much their flagship title, I think it's important that they have people coming back. So having co-op modes and multiplayer modes are key, guys. They did it with like Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. They kind of implemented some very interesting concepts in the multiplayer side of things. I think that they could do something similar to that, maybe even something else. Something that could be special and unique to the Assassin's Creed franchise, maybe even adding some new, like some game modes that are kind of standard across the entire industry at large, guys, like Team Deathmatch and things of that nature in the multiplayer scope, because why not? It's going to keep players coming back to Assassin's Creed and having, earnable items and things of that nature within the multiplayer, within the co-op modes. Gets you to play with your friends, gets you to play by yourself in the single-player story, gets you to play some co-op missions as well as multiplayer. So make it a full package deal, so when you're paying that $60, makes it a lot more, something that's very, much more intriguing, something that you definitely want to buy because of all the different ways you can connect with the franchise. Then, guys, coming in at number 4 is don't force side missions on players. I think that that's something that, guys, has incredibly has bothered me in a significant way in the last couple Assassin's Creed games, where you'll be playing the main story, you're getting kind of you're starting to get kind of engulfed and getting really excited about the direction that they're going in the story, and you're like kind of just really kind of getting into that main story, and then all of a sudden they say you can't continue the main story without doing side missions. That is something that really bothered me, and this isn't just the only game that's done this. Other games have done it, like Far Cry, and there's been other games, guys, and franchises out there that have done this, and I understand the concept here. They want you to play the entire game, but at the end of the day, guys, I think it's more important to add more content outside of the single-player story, because then we have other ways that we can connect, and you're not just sitting there doing the missions and the side missions, and then you're done with the game as a whole. So I think really making those side missions kind of go at your own pace. You don't have to do them, but there's something that you go at your own pace, or if after you beat the game, then you do the side missions to understand the whole story as a whole. So leave it up to the players as to what we want to do, whether we want to do the side missions as we're going through the main story or we do them later on. And then coming in last but not least, guys, is at number 5, enabling earnable items over monetization in your game. Whether you're talking the single player story, co-op modes, or multiplayer, having earnable items over the monetization side. Now, I'm not saying that monetization tactics and such are something that that are gonna just disappear, not gonna be in this game at all. That would just be, obviously, guys, that's something that's going to most likely be there, right? Because it's pretty standard across most games out there in the landscape of gaming. But what I'm getting at here is when you're playing the multiplayer, you're playing the single player story or co-op modes, you want things that you can earn, earnable items, because it brings you back. It gets you like addicted to the game because you want to earn things. Monetization tactics are just basically pay to, to get cosmetic items and such, which can be cool on your characters and such, but earnable items, having them separate from the monetization items, is something that is really important in my personal opinion. And basically, guys, every game, like I said, nowadays has monetization, tactics and such that they use. And we all have become kind of accustomed to it in one way, shape, or form. But I think we've gotten away, that being the developers, and even us as fans have kind of gotten away from really asking for more earnable items. So I think that's one thing that we really got to ask for moving into Assassin's Creed Valhalla. And I hope that they decide to go ahead and do that, where you're earning things for your character, earning like titles and emblems like next to your name while you're in lobbies and such, is really awesome as well. Gets you coming back to the game, and you want to keep on going up that, that bar, so to speak, of all the different things that you can earn. So those guys were the top 5 things that I want to see in Assassin's Creed Valhalla. What are your top 5 things? Let me know in the comment section below. And for more Assassin's Creed Valhalla content and videos, stay here with Zero TV.